Welcome to episode 43, and this is a follow-up video to episode 26 when we looked at the Carpenters harmonies. It's generated an awful lot of questions, so I figured it's probably good just to have a quick chat about that and then perhaps give you a demo of how exactly the sort of harmony vocals all layer up together. We did it a little bit in the other video, but it's generated more questions, so I figured we could try and sort it out. Now, the snag we've got is that there is a big difference between the Carpenters style of backing vocals and the typical BVs you'll see in any other piece of music. Typically, BVs are not singing the same as the lead vocal. They're providing perhaps the chords, counter melodies, things like that, and very obviously sung by somebody else. Now, the big problem with the Carpenters is that to get that combined sort of Carpenters sound, instead of being sort of one voice, it's just lots of voices. It's this big wash of sound. Those voices have to be the same. One of the things we discovered very early on was that if you change the singer, you also have to change all the BVs. It doesn't actually work by having one singer doing the lead vocal and the BVs coming from somewhere else, which means that conventional backing tracks that work brilliantly for most type of things suffer a bit when you try and do the Carpenters. That's the weird thing. With the Carpenters, you have a girl singer generally. Richard is there, but he tends to sit at the piano and does his own thing there. So it's essentially everybody is focused on Karen Carpenter, and you need her voice as the BVs, the main feature of the BVs. I mean, Richard is in there, but he's buried amongst loads of Karen Carpenters. If you listen to some of the Carpenters live stuff that you can find on YouTube, you'll either find it's Karen's voice doing the backing, so they've obviously had a track that they've sung to, or on a few occasions it's Karen's voice and very little in the background, and it changes the complete character of the songs. For something like a tribute to the Carpenters, then as long as the singer has that sort of right type of sound, nobody in the audience is going to be too worried that she doesn't sound exactly like Karen Carpenter, but they will be upset, if they paid a lot of money, to not get the Carpenters sound. And that's the biggest problem. So to recreate it, you need that one singer and then get them to sing all the parts. And I figured how best we'd do this. So what I've got is I've taken the end section of Goodbye to Love. Goodbye to Love is, very well known. Has a couple of little short BV sections in the middle, and then at the end goes into this full tilt, huge production of Karen and Richard Carpenter's voices. To make it even weirder, the rock guitar plays over the top, so it's a sort of massive ending. One thing that always is a problem for tribute bands is they struggle with fade outs, and of course the Carpenters fade out, and this particular track is a really good example. If you actually listen to the versions that are on the net, you'll find loads of versions where it fades out at different times. The radio edit fades out shorter, the album goes on a little bit longer, so you've got quite a lot of different versions of this one. So what we've got on the screen is everything in the first chunk. So that's all the backing vocals. I've muted the lead vocal, we don't need that. I've got rid of the guitar because it masks the singing. For the first section, I've left in the keys, the strings, the bass guitar. They're all in there. And you can hear what the sort of finished end is. What I then decided to do was to delete the male voice completely, leaving just the female voice, and bring the tracks in pairs or in threes. The reason for that is that some of the tracks have got this left and right almost identical vocal, and it has to be said that Karen Carpenter was really good at copying the phrasing twice. So she could sing the left part, she could sing the right part, and the two things are so close, but not quite identical. And that's what gives it this sort of bigger sound. Some of the other tracks tended to have a nearly left and a nearly right, and then one almost in the middle, but it seemed to be like offset just at one side to make space for her lead vocal. So there's either pairs or threes. Some only come in and do 2 or 3 notes and then disappear again, usually where one of the chord changes breaks up the notes. So all of a sudden a new line will come in and lead you somewhere a little bit different. And in Richard's part, the male part actually had a few things down at the bottom. So that's how it works. So the first version is this. So that's the main one done. Now we've got rid of the male vocal and we're just going to listen to the female vocal, and I've removed all of the accompaniment, so it's just the voice. There we go. And to finish it off, we've got the female voices all brought well down in level. So they're still there just, and we can hear the male parts coming in one by one. I've got a bit of an apology to make here. When I copied and pasted these blocks of tracks, because of the way that the tempo track flows, I had to try and rebuild that. As a result, I've uncovered the beginnings and ends of a few things that shouldn't be there. So I hope you'll excuse me for those. There's a few of them that should start dead in line, and they're a bit ragged. But I figured for the purposes of this video, probably better you heard it exactly as it was. So it uncovered some strange sniffs and coughs and things like that. I've tried to trim a few of the worst ones out, but there's still a few in there. The one thing that you will notice on all of these recordings is there's an ending. And we decided to drop the tempo right down and finish on a sort of musical full stop. So it goes slow, there's a bit of the strings comes in, does something, and it finishes on a dead stop at the end. It didn't seem to work very well with the male voice. So in our version, the male voice finishes early and the actual song is mainly just the girls' voices and the instruments at the end. If that makes sense, I'm sure it does. So here we go, here's the male part. There we go, that's the Goodbye to Love end section. So the theory behind all of this is that we don't sound at all like Karen Carpenter and Richard Carpenter. I think that's an impossible thing to hope. But what we have done is broken down their music so that in a live situation we can have a live singer, we can have all the BVs, and we'll also have, I think, the synth tracks are going to be on a track, but the strings and the piano are going to be played live, as is the bass and the lead guitar, which is obviously missing on here. It's a strange guitar solo, but we did have a guy that was going to play that for us, so that's okay. But there you go. What do you think? The Carpenters stuff is so incredibly complicated. As those voices come in, especially in Karen Carpenter's sections, it gets really complicated really quickly. Bits just build up and add in, and single lines suddenly spread into two. It's very clever. If you've never listened to the Carpenters' music, you really need to go through their catalogue, because there is some incredible stuff in there, and most of it relies entirely on the two people's musical skill. Perhaps their patience, but above all, Karen Carpenter could sing exactly on the right note multiple times. One of the things I've discovered from the work that we do recording choirs is it's not the good voices that make a choir sound good, it's the lack of bad ones. So if somebody is just a touch wrong, either in their timing or their phrasing or their pitching, that's the thing that stands out. And in the Carpenters' music, that didn't happen. Everything was perfect. I just wish we could have some more of it, but it's never going to happen, is it? So anyway, that's episode 43, which I hope has answered a few more queries that people were posting on the episode 26 page on YouTube. So if you've liked that, give this one a thumbs up. Tell us. Ask more questions if you like. I really don't even mind if you tell me it's terrible. I know it's not as good as the real Carpenters. Anyway, see you on the next video. Look after yourselves. Take care.